Fantasy Football Podcast on this beautiful Monday morning. I'm your host, Jim Neander. Glad to be here with you. Listen, yesterday, first Sunday of NFL season was pretty awesome. I hope you had a great day wherever you were. Hope you were safe and really got to enjoy the games and hopefully weren't really interrupted that much. I got to really sit down and dig into the games. Nothing stopped me yesterday. Everybody knows what I'm doing on Sunday, so nobody really making any requests of me, which is fantastic. But really a fun weekend of football, a lot of great games, some not so great games, but that happens every week. And as far as fantasy purposes go, as always, there were some surprises. There were some things you expected to happen, right? Some guys you expected to score points that did. But we're going to go through it all here today and tomorrow. So here's what we're doing here. We got 2 days of review shows, right? Today and tomorrow we're going to be reviewing the action from this weekend. We got 2 games tonight, Monday Night Football games. We got Pittsburgh and the Giants. Also got the Tennessee Titans and the Denver Broncos tonight. So, tomorrow we'll review those shows with the rest of the games we don't get to today. What we're going to start with, though, is we're going to go through each position and just kind of talk about some of the guys that killed it and some of the guys that killed you. And maybe tanked your team this week. There were definitely a number of guys on either side of that coin. And once we kind of highlighted some guys from each position, we're going to move on to each game and just kind of break them down a little bit, all right? We'll do that. And then tomorrow we'll go over some of our waiver wire suggestions and pickups, although, we'll get to that a little bit, while we're doing each game. We want to kind of consolidate it tomorrow maybe into our top waiver wire picks, as well as our, some of our streaming options. So let's jump in here to the quarterbacks, and as we look at the quarterback leaders for week 1, one of the interesting things I saw was that with quarterback and tight end, right, the 2 positions that pre-draft we always talk about, the strategies for possibly going late, and possibly not getting one early because whether it's an issue of depth or just an issue of positional scarcity, you may or may not need to get a quarterback early. So when I look at the top 12 quarterbacks for this week, looks like, there was 4 quarterbacks here that were definitely not drafted in the top 12. So you have, Cam Newton, Mitch Trubisky, Kirk Cousins, and Gardner Minshew all hit the top 12 this week. And guys like Patrick Mahomes were outside the top 12. Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz. So these are, all guys that were drafted pretty much in the top 12 for quarterbacks. And I think gives you a really great illustration that quarterback is a position that you really can play the matchups and the streaming options a little bit more. Of course, if people are drafting, backup QBs, some of these guys could have been gone. But I think if you look out on your waiver wire, you're going to see Mitch Trubisky, Gardner Minshew, and Kirk Cousins. And again, I'm not saying pick these guys up. I'm saying look towards next week. And when you're in your draft and someone's saying, hey, I wouldn't draft Lamar Jackson in the second round or third round, or Patrick Mahomes, what have you, what they're not saying is that they're not great. What they're saying is that it just doesn't usually work out that way, week to week in fantasy football. There are guys you can find if you're willing to play the game and you can do a good job of it. It doesn't always work out. It is nice to have that security, to have one of those, top options. I get it. But, same thing happened with tight end this week. When we look over at tight end, and I look at the guys that are in the top 12, we see Dallas Goedert as the number 1 tight end. He's not even the number 1 tight end technically on his team. He's the number 1 for the week. See T.J. Hockenson in there, David Njoku, Logan Thomas, O.J. Howard, Greg Olsen, Jordan Akins, and Jimmy Graham. All in the top 12 for tight ends this week. And guys that weren't were Zach Ertz and Darren Waller and George Kittle. All of them, obviously drafted very high. Tyler Higbee, Hayden Hurst, down there near 20. Rob Gronkowski, Austin Hooper. These guys, were way down the list. And while the difference in points for tight ends is not going to be the same as it is for quarterbacks, within these ranges, it just shows you can wait. You could have played Greg Olsen this week and had the number 9 tight end, right, and not even drafted him. So, you could have had David Njoku or Logan Thomas, but I think that's a bigger stretch to think people were really playing them. So, all right, let's talk about some of these QB performances, though. Russell Wilson, he was amazing. I watched most of this game, and he only missed 4 attempts. He was 31 of 35, and every one of those missed attempts were to DK Metcalf. So that means Tyler Lockett, Greg Olsen, Chris Carson, all those guys were 100% on their attempts. Caught every single one of them. And Metcalf was 4 of 8. And by the way, still had a really good week, so didn't really hurt him that much. But Russell Wilson, almost 89% completion percentage, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 29 yards on the ground just to bump it up a little bit. But he was the top scoring quarterback on the week, followed closely by Aaron Rodgers. A little bit of a surprise for people. He was definitely ranked, not just for the season, but for week 1 at Minnesota. I think people had him ranked definitely outside the top 12, and he goes off for 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, wasn't sacked once, didn't have to get out of the pocket at all. He had 1 rushing attempt for 2 yards. So really just a great job all around by everyone on the Green Bay offense. You had all 3 of their top 3 receivers kind of show out. Aaron Jones had a very nice game, so all in all, things look really good for Aaron Rodgers. Josh Allen. First 300-yard passing game for Josh Allen. That's big news. I know it was against the lowly Jets, but you're very happy to see that. That's important that he's getting off here. The addition of Stephon Diggs seems to have helped. He threw to Diggs, a whole bunch of times, completed a couple passes a little bit further down the field, which was his big Achilles heel last year, of course, was his completion percentage further down the field. So you were happy to see that as well. Really nice game for Josh Allen. Added the 57 yards and the touchdown on the ground. So, that's a big part of his game. You're really happy to see the 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. And then it went over the top when you get the extra rushing touchdown plus all those rushing yards. Puts him into that, that top 3 category. And that's how you got to get there, right? You got to be able to do both if you really want to have those top weeks, unless you're going to, go off with that 4th touchdown like Wilson and Rodgers did. So, no surprise here at number 4, Lamar Jackson, an extremely efficient day as a passer. Didn't really, run the ball all that much. 7 rushing attempts for 45 yards. Very efficient, almost 7 yards per carry. But he was 20 of 25 through the air, 275 yards with 3 touchdowns, and just an amazingly efficient game. A couple to Mark Andrews. I think Willie Snead had the 3rd one. But Marquise Hollywood Brown had a really nice game, so he spread the ball around really well and just looked really solid. Again, I know Cleveland, I get it, they're not the best team. It is what it is, but it was good to see Lamar Jackson come out firing again and looking great. All right, number 5, pretty much right where he was drafted, Kyler Murray. So not the most efficient day here, 26 of 40, 230 yards and a touchdown through the air with an interception, but added a big boost on the ground, 13 attempts for 91 yards and a touchdown. Added a bunch of points there. He wound up just over 26 points. And, for Murray, it was a little tale of 2 halves. He was very, erratic, I would say is the word. There were some good things. There were some things to worry about. You got all of it with Murray in this game. But a great comeback, great win for the Cardinals in a very tough division against, the defending conference champion, San Fran 49ers. So overall for the football Cardinals, it was a really great game. They got DeAndre Hopkins going in a big way, which we'll talk about obviously very soon. So there you have that. All right. And the last guy I'm going to bring up here is Cam Newton. So, Cam had a very interesting day for a quarterback. 15 of 19, $155. You don't expect to see that stat line near the top. But he did add 15 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. You get the 2 touchdowns, however you can, and that put him up there into that top 6, the top half of the QB1. So, some guys that really disappointed here in the quarterbacks. I would say Dak Prescott at 16 was a disappointment. Primetime game against the Rams, only got the ball in the end zone once, and probably looking for a little bit more than that. You had Drew Brees, who just had a kind of a quiet day, 18 of 30, 160 through the air and 2 touchdowns. So without the yardage there, he had the 2 touchdowns, but he was the number 20 quarterback. Carson Wentz had a tale of 2 halves. A beautiful first half. Looked like he was going to do great, and I'm pretty sure he ended the game with a lot of points less than he had at the end of the first half. I don't remember the last time I saw a quarterback go backward from the end of one half to the end of the second half. But yeah, no, he made it happen. That was pretty impressive. And Tyrod Taylor, got to consider this a loss for him. A lot of people thought, oh well, great streaming option against Cincinnati first week. The matchups there, 16 of 30, just over 53% completion percentage for 208 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no rushing yards. Nothing, really nothing all day. So not happy about that, right? All right, let's go back over to the running backs here. So, number one running back on the week, Josh Jacobs. Great week. Wasn't particularly efficient, but had a bunch of volume, got in the end zone 3 times, and had the targets. Had 6 targets, caught 4 of them for 46 yards, and that's the big thing. Obviously, the 3 touchdowns is not going to be a weekly thing, but he will have opportunities to get the ball in the end zone almost weekly. And if you get 4+ targets a week, he's going to continue to be a top end wide receiver, top end running back 1 for the foreseeable future. He actually overtook Christian McCaffrey, not overtook, but sorry, was the number 1 over Christian McCaffrey for this week. McCaffrey had a very nice game as well, so 96 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns on the ground, but the targets weren't as bountiful as they have been. Caught 3 balls on 4 targets for 38 yards, and that's, it's nice. It's almost 7 points in addition to his rushing, and you're happy with that. You kind of get greedy when you start seeing those 8, 9, targets all the time for him. So, yep. Zeke at number 3, right where you expect him to be. A very Zeke-like game, very workman-like. 4.4 yards per carry, just under 100 yards rushing. He had 4 targets, caught 3 balls for 31, which is right where you want Zeke to be. Let's talk about some surprises up here. Nyheim Hines as the number 4 running back on the week. On the back of 2 touchdowns, he got the ball in the end zone, on the ground, and through the air. Didn't do that much work on the ground, but had 8 receptions on 8 targets for 45 yards, and it kind of just goes to reinforce the idea of Phil Rivers really dumping the ball off quite a lot. We saw Jonathan Taylor have a ton of receptions, and we also saw Nyheim Hines have a lot of targets and receptions. So the hype is real. I think that you're going to see quite a lot of targets to the backfield in a Philip Rivers-led offense at this point, no matter the situation. So Nyheim Hines will more than likely be my number 1 recommendation for waiver wire pickups. Of course, with the news confirmation that Marlon Mack most likely out for the season. So look for Nyheim Hines. And Malcolm Brown at number 5 had a really nice game. Got the ball in the end zone twice on the ground, 79 yards, 4.4 clip, and also caught 3 balls on 4 targets for 31 yards, same line as Zeke. So nice game for Malcolm Brown. Disappointing a little bit for Cam Akers, who struggled a lot. We'll get there when we review that game. But Cam Akers really struggled, and Darrell Henderson really didn't see the field as much. So not really much to worry about with Henderson. It seems like we'll be focusing on Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown for the time being. All right, there were some bad buzz too. There were some guys that didn't really get anything going, that people were playing and weren't sure what was going to happen. Kerryon Johnson, he's not the one that got it done. Adrian Peterson was the one that was much more efficient. Johnson was terrible. 7 carries, 14 yards. If you played him, that was tough. You were really struggling there. Chris Thompson, the thought was, he's going to get a whole bunch, targets, and he did get 2 targets, 2 carries, 6 yards. 2 receptions, 6 yards. Didn't do anything for you there, so that hurt if you started him. Who else might you have started? Cam Akers. He had some opportunity here. So 14 carries for 39 yards, just under 3 yards a clip. Ooh, brutal. Not the kind of debut you're looking for there. All right, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, number 47, running back on the week. 10 carries for 60 yards and 1 reception for 6 yards. So not much going on in the world for Nick Chubb at that point. He looks like he lost a fumble. Yeah, he must have lost a fumble because the points didn't add up there. So, yeah, 5.6 points. Brutal. Antonio Gibson, number 44. And that was, a lot of people were just taking a swing there. Didn't work out. Number 44 is not the worst. And the last one I'll bring up because he killed me was Boston Scott. had some opportunity with Miles Sanders missing the game. And, just like, basically the Eagles just kind of choked this opportunity away at a win and some points. So, no bueno. Austin Eckler was bad too. We'll get there. All right. Let's look at the receivers. I don't know how I like doing it like this. I feel like I just want to go through the games instead of doing it like this. So you tell me, because, all right, the episode's only going to be like 50 minutes, and we're 15 minutes in. Haven't started talking about the individual games yet. All right, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go, right? All right. Receivers went off this week, man. There were some big, big performances. And frankly, some big team performances as a wide receiver group. All the Green Bay receivers. You had Devontae Adams as the number 1 wide receiver on the week, with Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the number 10, and Allen Lazard as number 14. So 3 receivers in the top 14 for Green Bay. Atlanta was the other team that absolutely went off. You had Calvin Ridley at number 2, Julio Jones at number 6, and Russell Gage at number 9. Gage, of course, being the kind of the surprise there. The other unique thing was that all 3 of those Falcons had 9 receptions. All 3 had 12 targets. So, very just kind of coincidental there. And the monster number here was DeAndre Hopkins. Not sure how he was going to, work in and what the split was going to be. And I'm not expecting it to be like this every week. But good Lord, 14 receptions on 16 targets, 151 yards. That is quite the debut with a new team and quite the connection with your new quarterback to have. And bodes well. Listen, I might have been wrong. I have DeAndre Hopkins, near the back middle of wide receiver 2 territory, wide receiver 18, 19 for the season. And this start is definitely, showing me wrong. Let's look at some surprises here. Robbie Anderson at number 5. Really nice game with a long touchdown. That's part of his game. Jamison Crowder, he got the targets. 7 catches, 13 targets, 115 yards, and a touchdown. So really nice game for him. DK Metcalf wound up as a number 11 wide receiver, 4 of 8 for 95 and a touchdown. That got him there. Will Fuller, John Brown, number 13. Nice week for him. So some real nice performances here for the wide receivers. There were definitely some bad ones. Let's look down near the bottom here, see if there were some guys you might have started that really hurt. Brandon Cooks. Maybe you took a swing on Brandon Cooks. 2 receptions, 5 targets, 20 yards. That really hurt. Hunter Renfrow. Hey, with Tyrell Williams going down, maybe you played him as a flex. 3rd wide receiver. He only had 2 targets, 2 catches, 21 yards. Randall Cobb was bad. Oh, here's a little name. Nobody ever heard of this guy. Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas was number 69 receiver on the week with 4.7 points, and that hurt. That hurt whoever played him. Odell Beckham Jr. was terrible, and they just don't have a connection. He caught 3 balls on 10 targets for 22 yards, and they really just don't have it going, those 2. Kendrick Bourne, I missed on that one. I thought he could be the easy clear target leader for San Fran. He only had 5 targets and was only able to catch 2 of them. So, there were guys that hurt you for sure down here. Mike Evans, well, we knew he was hurt. You shouldn't have been playing him anyway. Tyler Boyd wound up with 5 targets, caught 4 of them for 33 yards. Michael Gallup, my guy, Michael Gallup, just had that bad call, that push off at the end there. Would have been close to 100 yards, but didn't happen. So, didn't happen for him. All right, man, you can tell. These Monday shows are going to be a little tough. I'm a little foggy. My throat hurts a little bit, probably from screaming at the TV, yelling, hanging out, doing all that good stuff. All right, what the tight ends do. Dallas Goedert, 8 of 9 for 101 yards and a touchdown. Number 1 tight end on the week. Pretty impressive game there, The reports were Zach Ertz had the argument with the GM there in Philly and is upset about his contract, but frankly, Zach Ertz has done a lot for this team, and he's an excellent, tight end, but he's not very dynamic, and I wouldn't be giving him anywhere near that top money. If that's what he wants to stay there, I'd be moving forward with Dallas Goedert. I think he has this potential, and that's what it is. Mark Andrews, number 2 on the week with 2 touchdowns, caught 5 balls, 58 yards, but got in the end zone twice, and looked great. He has that connection with Lamar Jackson. He looks for him in the red zone, and he's going to be worth that number 3 pick for sure. Let's look at some surprises here. T.J. Hawkinson at number 4 caught 5 balls, caught all 5 of his targets for 56 yards, got in the end zone there when Detroit was playing well before they fell apart. David Njoku, got to be a surprise here, right? All the money went to Hooper, who didn't do anything. 3 catches, 50 yards, 1 touchdown, had the 1 nice long play. Logan Thomas got in the end zone, but more importantly, had 8 targets for Logan Thomas. Tied for second most tight end targets on the week, and that's a big story there. I know Dwayne Haskins' targets are not extremely valuable because they're not the most accurate, but that's a lot of targets. So be on the radar. And Greg Olsen, want to bring Greg Olsen up? He got in the end zone, didn't have a lot of yards, but got in the end zone and could be a guy that, if Russell Wilson continues to have these bang-up weeks, could be playable, maybe touchdown dependent, but we'll see. So, all right, let's get into some of these games here. Let's see how these guys did. So we already talked about Houston and KC. Let's move to the Seattle Atlanta game. I already told you, Russ Wilson killed it, number 1 quarterback on the week. Chris Carson, by the way of his passing work, had a really nice week, and he had 2 touchdowns in the air, wound up as the number 7 running back, although he only had 6 carries for 21 yards. It's a lot to take out of this. For me, I'm a little worried about Chris Carson, because even though he had a good week, and even though he had 6 targets and caught them all for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns, 6 attempts really, really worries me. It's not like Carlos Hyde had a lot of attempts or anything, and this could be the sign that they're going to let Russell Wilson throw the ball a lot more. And if they let Russell Wilson throw the ball a lot more, Carson could be in danger. He's not, the most dynamic runner in the league, and if he's only getting, not 6, but even 10, 12, I don't think he's going to have the same kind of year he had last year. I think he's got to have those 15-plus carries, every week to return, that kind of value for where you drafted him in the 3rd round. So a little worried about Chris Carson there, but that's all right. Not worried about any of the receivers there. The big 2 are going to be great all year long. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf look fantastic. Lockett would have had a wide receiver one day, but he had that 40-yard pass interference that he got, and probably would have caught that ball as well, and would have put him over 130 yards. So he would have had an excellent week, and he did have an excellent week. Metcalf looked great. Looks just bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody out there. And when you're bigger and stronger and also faster, that's just tough for everybody, man. And we're talking about Greg Olsen just a minute ago. Caught 4 balls, 24 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know if I'm streaming him yet. I don't know if I'm claiming him on the waivers yet, but, he's on the radar. The tight ends there, the tight ends that missed in that area, they're all within a couple of points. So it wasn't like some, dynamic performance. He got in the end zone. He actually did a lot less than the other guys around him. He just got in the end zone. So for Atlanta, the passing game was on point. The rushing game looked really good to start. Todd Gurley was looking strong running. I think they kind of abandoned it early when Seattle was just so efficient and just started scoring left and right. And what are you going to do? You got to kind of, got to start keeping up, right? I mean, if they're going to score 35-plus points, you got to get to work and start putting points up on the board. They were throwing the ball all around. Matt Ryan had like 450 yards passing, ridiculous number. And that's how all those wide receivers wound up there in the top 12. So Ridley had a monster game. He had the touchdowns. That was the difference maker for the fantasy stats here for these receivers. Ridley was number 2 with 130 yards. Julio Jones had 157 yards, but did not get in the end zone there. Wound up as number 6. Russell Gage, 9 of 12, 114, over 20 points, and the number 9 wide receiver on the week. The disappointment here was Hayden Hurst. For me, for a lot of people, Hayden Hurst definitely on that list of breakout candidates, and was targeted 5 times, not that bad. Caught 3 balls, 38 yards, but that's 6.8 points, and that's the number 20 tight end on the week, and that's not going to do it. If you're only going to have, 5 targets. Now listen, there was that one play where there was really nice defense, and there was that floater that got put up. He wasn't going to score on it, but that probably would have been a nice 25, 30-yard gain. And another 3 or 4 points, puts him right in that tight end 1, right at the back end of that tight end one. So, listen, everybody's got what ifs, coulda, woulda, shouldas in their game, and he's no different. But wasn't a great game for him, but you got to be you got to feel good about the passing volume in that Atlanta offense. So if you're a Hayden Hurst believer, just know that if there's 450 yards being thrown around, you have to assume a little more will go his way, right? All right, so that's where we're going to hope. All right, let's move it along here quick. The Bills and the Jets, Josh Allen, we brought it up, one of the top QBs on the week, looked great, both throwing the ball and rushing the ball. I think, I don't know how much has to do with how bad the Jets are, and it could be a good amount. So we'll see in the coming weeks, but Josh Allen, for right now, looks to be, every bit worth that, mid QB1 status, QB 6-7. And if he can keep both of those going, I like to see him run a little bit less, but if it's part of his game, it's part of his game. I don't, what can you do about it? Now, the rushing game for the Bills was pretty atrocious, quite honestly. They could not get anything going. So, the big question here was what's going to be the split with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. And they actually had an even split with work on the ground. They both carried the ball 9 times. 30 yards for Devin Singletary, nothing fantastic. But Zach Moss ran the ball 9 times for 11 yards. That's a little worrisome, right? I mean, that's pretty bad, right? If we're talking about this defense as being pretty awful, that's got to be discouraging. In the passing game, you had Devin Singletary get 7 targets. Now, I love that number for Singletary. Caught the ball 5 times. Again, didn't do much with them, 23 yards. But if you're looking for those, silver linings, 7 targets is a very, very solid number. Also, Zach Moss had 4 targets, caught 3 balls for 16 yards and a touchdown. That's what gave him the points, was his touchdown there. So I don't know what to take away from this running back room yet. I'm really not sure. So I think for me, I wouldn't be starting either one of them next week. We'll get to that in our preview shows. But, for now, when I looked at them, I thought Singletary looked better, and I think that Zach Moss in that goal line, role makes a little more sense. So hopefully that's what they'll do. Their receivers look pretty nice here. They got the ball spread around really well. Stephon Diggs, the newcomer, big money man, 8 receptions on 9 targets. So you love to see that connection. 8 out of 9 is very good. 86 yards. Didn't get in the end zone. That'll happen though. That's fine. John Brown did get in the end zone, and John Brown led the team in targets with 10. Caught the ball 6 times for 70 yards and a touchdown. And I guess it's true. We might have overlooked John Brown. There might be enough to go around. We could be looking too much into it, being the fact they were playing the Jets. But, I think the thought was maybe there's just not enough meat on the bone for Diggs to be really good and then John Brown to also still be, pretty good to really good. And there were still 7 more targets for Cole Beasley. He was also fine. 4 catches, 58 yards. That was fine. So a lot of good things in this game for the Buffalo Bills offense. Pretty much nothing good for the Jets. Literally. There's nothing good to talk about here with the Jets offense in this game. I guess Jamison Crowder is the lone bright spot here. Crowder caught 7 of his 13 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. So listen, I guess it's positive. If he's going to be a volume monster like that, they did not spread the ball around really well. Chris Herndon had 7 targets, caught the ball 6 times, 37 yards. Outside of that, Rashad Perryman had 5 targets. Chris Hogan had 4, but did nothing with them. So, Darnold is still struggling to complete passes. They're struggling to get guys open. They're struggling to be creative. Looks like they lost Le'Veon Bell here for a short amount of time. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't throw the ball. I don't know. You can play Herndon or Crowder, I guess. It makes me want to vomit when I think about playing when I think about playing any New York Jets right now. They just seem that bad. So, yeah, I can't recommend it. We'll see what happens in the preview show, but it was pretty awful watching the Jets at all yesterday. So, all right, this game was kind of weird and fun. Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions. The Bears came back and scored 21 unanswered points in the 4th quarter to win the game by 4 points. Trubisky threw 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter after doing nothing all game long. It was pretty ridiculous. But hey, sometimes that happens. The Lions are the Lions. And they can do that, I guess, to anybody. So Trubisky, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did, if you streamed him, you're a Trubisky truther. He did what you needed him to. He looked good. He kept his job. He got a win. All that good stuff. But, man, he looked really bad for a long time. So we'll see what happens. David Montgomery looked pretty good as far as efficiency goes. 13 carries, 64 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, though, so didn't do anything for you. Only had 1 catch for 10 yards. Didn't help you out at all. Tariq Cohen was extremely quiet on the day. Did get 7 carries, 41 yards, but for him, it's all about the receiving work, and you didn't get it here. 2 targets, caught the ball twice for 6 yards, and that's just not going to do it for you. If you played him in PPR, you need to see a lot more than 2 targets. That's the plan, right? So, all right. Let's look at the receivers here. Anthony Miller had a nice game. 4 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. So he got into the end zone, and that was his MO his rookie year, was getting into the end zone, and hopefully he's returning back to that form. Allen Robinson struggled a little bit. He got the 9 targets, but 5 receptions, 74 yards. Not going to do it for you for Allen Robinson. That's not going to work for where you drafted him. But the 9 targets is, a good sign. Where did he wind up, actually? Where is Allen Robinson here? The number 30 wide receiver, and that's not where he was drafted. He was drafted, as a wide receiver 10 or so, even inside of that, for a lot of people. So that's not going to do it. Right behind Scott Miller for the week. All right, Jimmy Graham got in the end zone. Now, it's not just that he got in the end zone. Now, he didn't look really good, but he got 7 targets. So he caught 3 balls, 25 yards, but a touchdown and 7 targets. So, as much as I hate to say it, you got to think about Jimmy Graham as a streamer. If you lost your tight end, maybe you lost Blake Jarwin, and you were counting on him. I don't know. 7 targets makes me think maybe you can play him. So go from there. All right. Let's go over to the Detroit Lions. He just kind of fell apart there inexplicably. Matt Stafford, 297 yards and a touchdown. Wasn't particularly good. Wasn't bad. He had an interception. The big surprise here was Adrian Peterson. Came out and ran the ball great. 14 attempts, 93 yards, 6.6 yards a clip, and made Kerryon Johnson look awful. Kerryon had 7 carries, 14 yards, and didn't get it done at all. DeAndre Swift got in the game. We weren't sure if he was going to play or how much. Of course, he vultured the touchdown from both Kerryon and Adrian Peterson. 3 carries, 8 yards, but fell into the end zone. And if you played a team who had him like I did, you're like, great, he's going to have 2 points. Here we go. And then he falls into the end zone. So that kind of stunk, right? He did have 3 receptions for 15 yards on 5 targets also. That's DeAndre Swift. So the target's going to be there if DeAndre Swift is out there, and that's in his skill set. Kerryon Johnson had no targets, and Adrian Peterson had 3. So DeAndre Swift definitely seems to be the passing down back for the Lions, and I think if he's healthy, even though AP looked really good this week, I think DeAndre Swift will be the guy to play going forward. So we know they were without Kenny Golladay, and that without a doubt had something to do with why they couldn't get it done and finish the game out. If you have your top weapon, you're going to be playing better, of course. But without Kenny Golladay in the lineup, they were spreading the ball around. Amendola caught the ball 5 times for 81 yards. Marvin Jones caught the ball 4 times for 55 yards. And then Quintez Cephas had 10 targets. But don't go picking him up. That was a Golladay thing. And he only caught the ball 3 times. And that's the big difference, right? You think Golladay gets 10 targets, he's going to catch the ball more than 3 times, you assume. TJ Hawkinson looked fantastic. He was 5 of 5 for 56 and a touchdown. Can't expect 5 of 5 all the time, obviously, but he caught the ball in the end zone. He didn't drop it, and that's a huge step in the right direction for Mr. Hawkinson. So there you go. All right, let's get through a couple more of these here, and then we'll knock out the rest tomorrow. We wasted a lot of time yakking about these top performers here. I got to get something going better for that. All right. Oh, man, this game was awesome. Green Bay and Minnesota. Green Bay, 43 points on the road. I know, no fans, but on the road. Minnesota scored 34 points, most of them in the fourth quarter. So, garbage time. They were just trying to come back and score some points, and they did. But Aaron Rodgers looked like the man. Him and Devontae Adams put on an absolute show. And hey, maybe this will be that season for Aaron Rodgers where he's like, hey, you draft a quarterback, you better be willing to sit here for the next 4 years while I do my thing. So let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. 364 and 4, no interceptions. Just already starting off on the right foot. Aaron Jones had a nice day. 16 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Nothing otherworldly, but you're fine with that. And then you got four catches for 10 yards, 6 targets. You're not happy with the efficiency there, but you love to see 6 targets for Aaron Jones. It definitely helped him out there. And let's see where Aaron Jones wound up on the week. He was a running back 1, the running back 12. So, again, maybe not where you drafted him, but the RB12, you're pretty happy with that. I would be anyway. So I think he did pretty well. Devontae Adams killed it for you. Right now you're sitting there saying, should I have drafted Devontae Adams over Michael Thomas? He only scored 38 more points than him. Targeted 17 times, incredibly. Caught 14 passes, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, went absolutely ham. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 6 targets, 4 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Alan Lazard caught all 4 of his targets, 63 yards, and a touchdown. So, things are looking good for Green Bay. Maybe MVS is taking that step forward. If Alan Lazard is consistent and trustworthy, they could be good to go here. Didn't see any tight end work for the most part, so for right now, it looks like Aaron Jones plus, these receivers, and then we'll go from there. All right, Jamal Williams had 7 carries, did nothing with them. A.J. Dillon only carried the ball twice, so nothing to worry about there. Let's go over here to Minnesota. Kirk Cousins had himself a nice week. 259, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Also added 34 yards on the ground, so nice little boost, a little bump there for Kirk. Dalvin Cook, pretty nice week. Got in the end zone twice. Didn't get as much work as you're used to him getting. But 12 carries, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's where the money came from this week with Dalvin Cook. He only had 2 targets. It's a little bit worrisome. They didn't throw the ball that much though, which is kind of surprising in a game where they were down a lot. But Cousins only attempted 25 passes. So the fact that Cook had 2 targets is a little worrisome, but not too stressful. Adam Thielen had yourself a game. One of the top wide receivers on the week here. Got to be in the top, 10, 12? Is he there? Where are you? Yeah, number 3. I'm like, I looked already too far. Number 3 wide receiver on the week. 2 touchdowns, 110 yards. Looks like he's back to form. Looking good. B.C. Johnson, number 2 on the team in targets. 3 receptions, 56 yards. And then Justin Jefferson had 3 targets. So I think it's going to be hard to pick any receiver going past Adam Thielen in this offense for right now. So we're in a wait and see pattern. I'm not going to play B.C. Johnson or Justin Jefferson until either one of them is the clear cut number 2, or the passing volume goes up a little bit here. And then a little bit disappointing again with the tight ends, but with so little volume through the air and Adam Thielen having such a big game, just wasn't a lot else to go around there. All right, let's see here. What do we got? How much more time do we have here? Not much more time, about 10 minutes. My throat is going. Ooh, I got to be nice and mellow for the Monday night games tonight. If Juju Smith-Schuster goes off tonight, which I need him to, I might not have a voice for a show tomorrow, but that's the risk we take, isn't it? All right, let's get this one more game in here. We're going to do the Patriots and the Dolphins, all right? This was a weird game. As I mentioned here, Cam Newton didn't throw the ball that much, but got in the end zone twice on the ground. Was the leading rusher by far for the Patriots. So 15 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Went 15 of 19 through the air, 155 yards. I mean, it was a lot of dinking and dunking. Julian Edelman, across the middle, which is fine. If the rushing work is going to be there, Newton will be playable. you want to see a little more against a defense like Miami through the air. Would have loved to see him get the ball in the end zone once or twice, but there was that pass where N'Keal Harry tried to extend the ball into the end zone and then fumbled it through the end zone, turning it over for a touchback, and that could have been that one passing touchdown. It would have put Cam, over the top into that top echelon for the week. As it were, he was a very good option for you. Let's break down the rest of this rushing attack. Sony Michel carried the ball 10 times for 37 yards and 1 touchdown, which is about as Sony Michel as a game could be. 3.7 yards per carry, but got in the end zone. What are you going to do about it, right? That's what he does. Burkhead carried the ball 7 times. J.J. Taylor carried the ball 4 times. And James White carried the ball 5 times. So, all in all, what is that? I don't know what that is. Oh, all in all, just a very New England rushing kind of a day, right? We know they're going to spread the ball around, and looks like outside of Cam Newton, you don't want to start any rushers here. James White did get a little work, through the air. 3 receptions, 30 yards, but nothing big. Not enough to supplant the minimal rushing work that he gets. All right, let's check out the receivers here. Julian Edelman, 5 of 7 for 57. N'Keal Harry, 5 of 6 for 39, and that was basically it. So, I think we could be looking at a very low volume passing attack for the New England Patriots here. You're going to have to pick the right week for Edelman or Harry, or just need, be happy with a low floor, low ceiling for that week for whatever reason. Hard to imagine you're happy with that any given week. And, we'll see what happens, but not too enthusiastic about the other pieces in New England just yet. But Cam Newton very well because of the rushing work could be fine. We'll see. The Dolphins looked pretty bad to get started here. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 191 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions against a very tough New England secondary, so that's true. Rushing the ball was kind of weird though, right? So Jordan Howard rushed the ball 8 times for 7 yards. Did fall into the end zone for a touchdown. No, good job. Matt Breida, 5 for 22. Myles Gaskin, 9 for 40. So, Gaskin got the most carries. We don't know why. We don't know if that's going to continue. But for now, I'd say you can't play any of those guys going forward. I don't really see how you could. And none of them got a target. So you didn't get any passing work. They all got, 5 to 9 carries and didn't do much with them. And Jordan Howard was the worst of the bunch, so. Oh well. Let's look at these receivers here. The 2 big ones are Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. Parker, of course, was battling a hamstring and then left with that injury again. But 4 out of 4 for 47 while he was in there. Looked like he was on his way to an okay game. And Preston Williams, man, they were trying. He had 7 targets. Only caught 2 of them for 41 yards. And, he's going to have big play potential week in and week out. I had him playing daily in a couple of places and really disappointed, but the potential was there. So it may or may not happen, but if Parker is out, expect Preston Williams' targets to be in the double digits for any game that Devontae Parker is out, and you get those amount of targets from Ryan Fitzpatrick, you could have a monster week. So we'll monitor that situation. Mike Gesicki, a little bit disappointing. 5 targets, 3 catches, 30 yards. Again, nobody got in the end zone, so what are you going to do there? What did I miss? I misspoke. I'm sorry. Myles Gaskin was involved in the passing game. That's my fault. I missed it. I don't know why. I'm just not used to seeing his name. I think that's what it is. He caught 4 balls, 26 yards. So, not enough to make him playable, but it's just enough to make you think, is he the number 1 running back going forward? I'm really not sure. I don't know. He could be. All right. Well, this was kind of brutal, man. I don't know. I thought I was pepped up. These Monday ones, we're going to have to get working on these Monday shows, man. All right. Well, that's, we're going to have more games for you tomorrow, right? We got to go through the rest of the 4 o'clock games. We have that crazy Philly and Washington game, Vegas and Carolina. So we got a lot of games to go over tomorrow, but we're going to have a little bit more time to do that. And we'll go through these Monday games as well. And, listen, if you listened to us today and you made it all the way through, you are a trooper. I appreciate it. No, I'm kidding. All right, so remember, watch the show on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share. Make sure if you're just listening, you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can listen to it on Google and Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all the good ones, and a lot of the small ones as well. So don't hesitate to find us out there. We're here Monday through Friday during the week, ready to help you get ready to win your championship. We're off to a good start. We got Juju going tonight. He's going to score big. We're going to win big on the way to the championship. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Appreciate it. See you next time.